saw an opportunity to have, to get involved with something that would maybe help somebody else, ease the burden of dying alone in prison, because this is a reality that I will have to face myself.
I've had some of the inmates and their families tell me that one of their greatest fears is dying in prison.
They need somebody that they can just say, I'm tired. I'm tired of living, I'm tired of hurting, I'm tired of trying to struggle for each breath. And that's what the hospice program's about here.
The obvious largest benefit is to give people a coping mechanism to basically deal with the biggest and most final decision in life, death.
We've come a long way from where we were 17 years ago. However, there's a lot further to go.
Benefits of a hospice program is it shows the nurses just it's okay to care about these people. It's okay to provide the kind of support and care that these people need at the end of their life.
And when it's all said and done, you realize how much of an individual they really were. No two are alike, just because we wear the same clothes. We were people before we were convicts.
We've got women in here that are not going home, which means that eventually we're going to be dealing with more end-of-life situations.
And obviously as that population ages, then that'll increase the need for the hospice services that we have here.
In prison, it's really hard to find ways to do good things for others. And the hospice program offers a way to give back.
When William K. Hall started into this program, the vision was to make the hospice program what it should truly be, and that is not a place, but a mindset.
There's no privilege that can make us immune to death's touch. For a growing number of people, this place called home is behind these prison walls.
Before I came to Coffee Creek, I worked at a men's facility. And what I noticed was that a lot of the inmates, their family, their significant others on the outside, on the streets, had disowned them. So their family, the inmates' new family, was the other inmates. And those were their support systems. Those were the people that they relied upon for day-to-day things that we would rely on our families. So we started developing a way to allow the other inmates that were a support to those sick individuals to spend time with them to help them through the last period.
The first group of our hospice volunteers is a set of inmates from within the institution who were trained by a community representative from the Oregon Hospice Association. They are people within this community, and they've been trained to community standards for the state.
So we have a 10-week course for the hospice volunteers. Then after that, they're going to have a mentorship for probably 6 months to where they'll actually be doing their volunteer service with an experienced hospice volunteer. We have convicted murderers, rapists, child molesters, but all of that isn't anything that's addressed or looked at by anybody at the time that we're providing the end-of-life care. These guys are doing 100% of the care for no other reason than they care.
At OSP, for instance, we have around 2,200 inmates. Currently, we have 60 inmates that are life without parole. So that was when they brought back the death penalty, they give jurors the option of giving what we call a true life without parole. These guys, no matter what their medical condition, will live and die here in the institution, so they'll never see the streets again. The statistics are we have an aging demographics. Not only do we have them outside of institutions in general population, but because of the indeterminate sentencing, longer sentences for certain crimes, that's really accelerated, I think, beyond what's being seen out in the general public, our demographics in terms of age.
We get young adults that will be doing, or young people that will be doing life sentences. We get people that come in over age 50 that are, even though they have a short sentence because of the chronic illnesses, because of the abuse that a lot of them have done to their bodies, will not live to get out of prison.
The total number of prisoners under the jurisdiction of federal and state correctional authorities was just under 1.5 million in the year 2002. The U.S. prison population rose 2.6% during 2002, the largest annual growth rate since 1999. There's a fundamental question that we must ask as a society. If we value the principles that guide hospice in the larger free community, why is the community within a prison any less deserving?
I think it's very important for inmates to be able to die with dignity. I just believe that we should make that as compassionate and caring a time for the inmate and their family as possible.
When I worked in a hospital and someone was dying, you could spend a long time sitting at their bedside and talking to them, holding their hand. There's something about human dignity that goes along with all of that. I found that that was really missing with these last two ladies that have died here. Then we've been able to provide that a little bit more.
I started out with geriatric hospice and was actually a med technician. I think that my life just kind of took a different turn, and that got put on the back burner, and as the felonies accumulated, my interest lessened and I just really didn't care. But back in prison, when you see life go a full cycle, it's kind of wakes you up.
What brought me to the hospice program was the fact that I had taken a life from society, and in my family that's the only death experience that I've ever had before hospice. You know, I knew what I had done was wrong, and I felt that this was a way for me to understand life better and to respect others.
There's a lot of people in here that don't have anybody, and one of the biggest fears is dying alone in prison. And this allays some of those fears, knowing that somebody will be there to care for them, somebody will be there to see that, you know, to help them be comfortable.
As far as worrying about dying, I'm not worried about dying. See, I've got 2 hospice volunteers, and then I've got 3 what they call inmate family volunteers that come up to see me.
I was diagnosed right after we came here in early August of 2002 with vaginal leiomyosarcoma. It was while I was down here that I met Jenny. Jenny had cancer, and Jenny knew that she was terminal. She taught me what it was to be thankful for each and every breath, because it was so hard for her to breathe. Jenny taught me that people need to have someone with them that they know, that they're comfortable with, that they can be at ease with.
A hospice program can benefit inmates, staff, and provide a connection to the outside community.
Benefits of a hospice program are to provide the patient with dignity, to provide them with care that they need, pain management. It also has opened up doors between the patients and their family. They've been able to process some issues that they never had overcome.
Working with them and seeing them learn to care for somebody besides themselves, you find that the inmates tend to be very selfish, self-centered people. And working with a dying person, they come outside themselves.
It gives inmates an opportunity to do something that many of them have never had, and that is to actually give something back and do something for somebody else with no real benefit to themselves other than being a participant and you know, the feeling that they get out of doing something for somebody else. Staff are the same. I mean, work in an industry where, you know, we talk about our successes, and you know, we can count them on our hands sometimes in terms of, because we see the same inmates come back over and over, and we look at, you know, we're trying to reduce recidivism. And so for staff to have an opportunity to do something where they see they are involved in something that's beneficial and is really, you know, above and beyond, that makes them feel productive and feel like they're doing a good job too. So I mean, it works for both the staff and the inmates in that respect.
What I have gained is a deeper sense of compassion. a deeper sense of understanding about how the system works. But what I've seen is that people here want to do the right thing. It doesn't matter if you're staff or you're an inmate or you're a patient. We all care.
The personal growth that I've got by being a volunteer allows me to be a better volunteer to the next patient that we work with.
Along with these benefits come challenges that can be addressed within a multidisciplinary team approach.
Probably the biggest challenge to start off with would be the training and certification process. With anything, you want it to be able to stand by itself and be recognized in its peer group, both in the community, professionally, by all. On the other part, staff buy-in. And when I mean that, I mean buy-in by all, really. And also the inmates, to understand what the program is about and what it is not. Probably the next one on a strategic or a larger looking plan for a department or any group going through this would be a shift in the traditional correctional paradigm of how we view and how we do things. And being able to take a step out and saying, we're going to try something different. This is the exception. And looking at a different way to approach it, still safe, still secure for all parties involved, needless to say very controlled, but still a successful environment for that to occur.
One of the biggest challenges for being a hospice volunteer is learning how to cope with the loss that you have. You have an opportunity to develop a long-term relationship with someone, knowing that that person is dying or in the process of dying, and when they die, you know, it's like losing a friend, it's losing a buddy, and the effects of that last for sometimes months.
The stigma of having a place where you go and you die, and that's, you know, the end of your existence. I mean, it's kind of like being sent to the hospital or to a convalescent home. It's kind of like that's the last stop.
It's really important that everybody not lose sight of the fact that the hospice program is not just for the patients, that as we're doing the hospice work down here, that we need a support system.
The funding that is needed would provide initial startup and ongoing education and management of the hospice program on a statewide level.
Nurses are supposed to know about death and dying, but a lot of times if you haven't recently been made aware of the difference in the programs, of some of the philosophies, particularly pain management, nurses just don't always have that information. So it would be very beneficial if we could get some education for our healthcare staff about the end of life, about supporting a patient through the end of life.
My long-term vision for hospice at Coffee Creek is to have it fully implemented and to have us certified so that everyone, families, inmates, staff, all feel comfortable with the program. I think that will come with the certification process.
And I would imagine we will end up doing more programs at Coffee Creek, OSCI, and I would like to see, my hopes are that the east side of the state starts developing their hospice program too.
Some people might say that there would be resistance to hospice. I can understand that. And that's where it goes back to that changing of the traditional correctional paradigm, the way we view things or the way we look at things. We teach inmates how to combat their addictions. We teach them how to deal with coping skills. We teach them how to build pro-social behaviors. We have all these programs to address how they're going to act when they get out. But we have nothing to address the inmate who's never going to get out. The person who could potentially die inside. That's what hospice is for.
It's something that everybody in the world should have. Nobody should have to die alone.
It's affected me greatly. I had never experienced knowing someone and developing a relationship with someone and then sitting with them and going through the dying process with them. And it's an experience like no other. And I don't believe that I would have ever had that experience without the hospice program.
We need to have a hospice program in place here. We've got many women in here that are doing life And as we deal with them, somebody needs to be here. Somebody needs to help walk them to the gate, just like we helped walk Jenny to the gate.
The turmoil for the end of life, none of us think too much about. We as human beings think about birth and living and don't give too much credence to death. And so the hospice program is a real valuable piece for letting people go through all of the processes that they do, all of the anger and the what-ifs that they needed to, and bringing a focus to the important things in life at the end of life.
Anytime you're working with dying people, it is so important for them to feel that someone's there, that someone's caring about them, that someone knows they're dying and actually cares that they're dying. And hospice has given me and the other volunteers that opportunity to show our care to our fellow man.
The burdens you bear, like your bounty be shared, may you leave something good behind. Would the sky and the land rise to your command, may your senses cut like the knife. Live in peace with the earth, in death as in